in the bright prospects of the distant past, in contrast to the grim darkness of the former future. The war against Salem was long and difficult, as one by one the heroes of Remnant fell. Jaune suffered a grim ending as everyone on Remnant is dead due to Salem's final solution, as she used the relic's energy to tear the moon apart even further and launch its pieces. All but him. Her and Cinder is all that was left of humanity. But Jaune persists and constantly fought Salem, who humored his infantile attempts to end her existence. In a climactic but pointless battle, Salem finally kicked the bucket when she allowed Jaune to impale her with crochemores. Unknown to her, it was the one thing she needed to escape her curse. Inadvertently, she passed on her curse of immortality to Jaune. He kicks her off his blade and spat at her corpse as he cursed her for ever being born. Jaune resumes his crusade to hunt down that wretched Cinder for enabling the events that took the lives of all the people he loved. Jaune, like I told you, you can hide under any rock, crevice, any barren moon, and I will still find you. He cornered Cinder like the rat that she is. She launched a fireball at him on fear, but he seats it out of the air like it was nothing. After numerous attempts to kill Salem, Jaune learned how to wield magic like her. Unaware that his blood ties to her is what made him so capable of it in the first place. He slowly but surely exacted vengeance on the witch. For there is no longer people alive to justify this act of cruelty, but as an act of service to exact retribution for everyone she has ever killed. He dealt the most vicious and brutal punishment he could ever think of, even looking back at Remnant's dark age. He tore her piece by piece slowly and extremely painfully until she was just a head and a body. He hung her on a stake and made a pyre as he burned her alive. To make sure it didn't end swiftly, he twisted and perverted the original use of his semblance. From healing the wounded to prolonging the agony of the convicted. Cinder burned for 6 days until Jaune's semblance couldn't heal her anymore. And she drew her last breath until she turned to literal cinders and ashes. For a final insult, he pissed on her ashes. He then proceeded to find the bodies of anyone he knew and laid them to rest. Safe to say, he found a lot of bodies, but a portion of them are who he knew. When he found the bodies of his friends and his family, he wept and sang lamentations to the dead as he buried his loved ones. He knelt at their graves and stayed there like a statue for 300 years without purpose. Despite his newfound immortality, he was also dead. After that 300 years of inaction, he finally stirred from his insanity. For the sum of 10,000 years, he lived and learned. Recovering and preserving any form of history on Remnant was one of his ways of coping with the emptiness of the dead planet. He amassed a collection of books as one of his long list of hobbies to keep him sane. He started with construction as he didn't need food or water to survive. He reconstructed Beacon from the ground up as he called it home, but instead of a class-based structure, he made it to his massive domicile and archive, library, and storage. Jaune took whatever he can as he traveled through all of the kingdoms. He managed to build a functioning ship the size of Atlas warships that took him 516 years to finish and collected any and all forms of humanity's mark on the world. After he restored all that he could, he then shifted his attention to agriculture as he wanted to once again feel what it feels like to eat. So he started building a huge farm behind Beacon as he collected seeds from all the plant life that survived on Remnant. He balanced farming with learning more cooking recipes as he once again rediscovers the taste of being human. Once that occupied his time, he reads so often to help keep him sharp and active. You have to do something or you'll go mad. Jaune spent thousands of years reviewing what went wrong. Throughout his eternity, he has complied all the events that led to his situation today and spent most of his time analyzing what ifs and anything he could have done to stop it. He became more logical, more sane. Until one day an opportunity presented itself to him. as a crack in the universe opened as he saw a younger version of him, and that sparked something in him. A long overdue correction that could have saved the world. He decided that if he didn't exist to hold everyone back, maybe they could have won. Opting to kill his younger self, he fought with his past ideals against his more logical cynicism. They battled as his past self denounced and disowned his future's morbid point of view. After that climactic battle, see Multiverse Chapter 11. Defeated, he fades away into oblivion, trusting that his past self would do right by him and everyone else. As he drifted into the void, his story was not over. Another divine entity took his spirit and gave him a new beginning. He was reborn and once again a baby. And he was subjected to a more cruel torture as he would wish he was dead or back to the isolation in the grim darkness of the future. Jess, here you go, my little angel, time for your food. John. No. Imagine being a baby with the consciousness of an adult once again feeding from his mother's breast. That broke him mentally and took him 4 years of his childhood recovering from that. He shocked his parents on how rapidly he was able to learn how to speak, problem solve, comprehend, and understand complex philosophies. He impressed his parents and told them of his dreams to become a huntsman and save the world. He was persistent and determined on his goal that his parents worry about him, but was convinced to properly prepare him for his dream and gave him the training he would need. But John suffered another setback, as John was afflicted and assaulted by visions and dreams from another life. It seems the entity that gave him a second chance wants to see him. I want to see my son, were the words that echoed his subconscious. Meanwhile, on a planet far from here, I have found my son's soul. Quick, what chapter is the nearest in his sector? Let's see. It's the L. Back to Remnant. John's final dream was of a last stand that made his battle with Salem pale in comparison. John laid down in a pool of his own blood as he reached out to his attacker with an accusing finger pointed at him. John, father, we'll deal with you. Then the booming voice of someone who radiated power. Horus. John woke up from his slumber and resumed his daily life. Another setback came as his family worried about him a lot. It seems there was something growing from his back. His parents had him checked up and thought it was a tumor, but the doctor said it wasn't a tumor. It was a set of wings. His parents were surprised that their son was a faunus and wondered if they had ancestors who were the same. But John worked hard and proved himself worthy to become a huntsman. They supported him all throughout combat school. His father James did his best to tutor him, but John's unparalleled combat prowess made his father confident in his abilities. John passed the school's test with flying colors. Test results so perfect that it was too perfect, so an investigation was set against him to check if he was cheating. He was subjected to a specialized test and had instructors watch his every move. Unknown to them, John read a lot in his 10,000 years, so any test they could come up with was moot in comparison to his vast accumulation of knowledge. All their suspicions were proven wrong as John showed no signs of cheating. He was rewarded with accolades and trophies as he graduated. The school even made him an exemplar. He kept his wings a secret from the general public to avoid any unwanted attention until he felt safe to show them. Present RWBY timeline a few days before Beacon. James, are you sure you don't need crochemores? John, no father, it is our family's heirloom, and besides I crafted my own. He made his own ornate crafted sword as to not rely on his ancestors' legacy. He will find his own way. Jess, did you pack everything? Clothes, toiletries, spare clothes, and your medicine? John, yes, Mom, I did. Double check and triple checked. He was afflicted by some sort of illness that sends him into a burst of rage which was tempered by his millennia of experience. But that was only one of his symptoms. The other was an unquenchable thirst for blood. He was able to stem the symptom by blood packs made out of his own blood. One of his missions as of now is to find a cure for this illness. James, no matter what happens, know that I'm proud of you, son. Jess, he grew up so fast. John, if only you knew. They gave him a big hug as he hugged them both with his arms and his wings. He hid his wings back into his coat. They said their goodbye as John boards the bullhead and leaves for Beacon. John Reborn's journey has just started.